The internal struggle. Imagine being on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Around you, the storm rages furiously. The waves threaten to overturn you. The dark sky roars with thunder. Everything seems out of control. This is what life feels like when we depend on external factors. Other people's opinions, the chaos of the world, unexpected obstacles. We feel as if the helm is not in our hands, but in those of others. But what if there were a way to regain control? What if, instead of fighting the storm, you learned to navigate it? Today, we will talk about the power of focusing on the only thing you can control, yourself. And we will do so with the guidance of some of the greatest thinkers in history: Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. The first Stoic principle: only control what depends on you. One of the most powerful concepts of Stoicism comes from Epictetus, a philosopher who was born a slave but became a teacher of emperors. He said, "What troubles man is not things themselves, but his opinions about them." Think about this. If someone insults you, does the insult itself hurt you, or is it the importance you give it? If you lose a job, is it the loss itself that crushes you, or your interpretation of what it means? The Stoics taught that the only things we can control are our perception, our decisions, and our actions. A story that proves it. Imagine a young man named Alexander. He always lived worried about what others thought of him. At work, he went out of his way to please his boss, fearing every criticism. On social media, his self-esteem depended on likes and comments. Every time someone judged or ignored him, his day was ruined. One day, he discovered a book by Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. There he read, "If you are disturbed by something external, it is not the thing itself that affects you, but your opinion of it, and that you can change." Alexander realized he had been a slave to external validation. He decided to change. He focused on his actions, not on the approval of others. He learned that his inner peace could not depend on external factors. Little by little, he stopped seeking validation and started doing things simply for the sake of doing them well. And then something surprising happened. Criticism no longer affected him, his confidence grew, and, paradoxically, people began to respect him more. This is how Stoicism works. It is not about changing the outside world, but about changing how you interpret it. Detachment from the result. A lesson from Seneca. Another common problem is our obsession with results. We want immediate success, recognition, wealth. But the Stoics knew that life is unpredictable and that the only real failure is not trying. Seneca, a philosopher and advisor to Emperor Nero, warned us about this. We are not affected by what happens, but by how we face it. He spoke of the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. In other words, accepting life as it is, without resistance. The story of a samurai. There was an ancient samurai named Ryota. He trained his whole life to become the best swordsman. One day, he had the opportunity to face the most feared warrior in Japan. If he won, his name would be remembered forever. On the day of the duel, Ryota focused so much on winning that he lost his composure. He was nervous, anxious. He kept thinking about what would happen if he failed. And so, his enemy defeated him. In his despair, Ryota went to see an old master. The master told him, "You became obsessed with the result and lost focus on what truly mattered, the fight itself. If you had fought without fear, without expectations, simply doing your best, victory would have been in your hands." From then on, Ryota learned to fight without attachment to the outcome. He no longer thought about winning or losing, only about giving his best effort. And paradoxically, when he stopped obsessing over victory, he started winning more battles than ever. The Stoics teach us the same. Do your best and let go of the result. If you depend on external success, you will be a slave to uncertainty. But if you focus on what you can control, your effort, your attitude, your discipline, you will live in peace. Conclusion. Start today. not tomorrow. Stoic philosophy is not just theory. It is a daily practice. If today you feel anxiety, fear, or frustration, ask yourself, does this depend on me or not? Am I reacting to reality or to my thoughts about it? Am I doing my best without obsessing over the outcome? When you start focusing on yourself, something incredible happens. Life stops controlling you, and you begin to control your life. In the next episode, we will explore how to face difficult moments with the mindset of a Stoic and how you can apply this to your daily life to become unbreakable. Never forget, your power lies in your mind, not in what happens to you. The power of resilience. Imagine this. You've worked hard for months on a project, but in the end, it gets rejected. You feel like all your effort was in vain. Frustration, helplessness, and hopelessness overwhelm you. What would a Stoic do in your place? The Stoics didn't see difficulties as obstacles, but as tests that strengthen the soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that what seems like a problem today is, in reality, an opportunity to grow. In this episode, we'll learn how the Stoics faced difficult moments and how you can apply their wisdom to turn every crisis into an opportunity. First lesson. No one can harm you without your consent. One of the most powerful teachings of Stoicism comes from Epictetus, who said, "People are not disturbed by events, but by the interpretation they make of them." The Stoics understood that suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from how we interpret it. The story of an undefeated general. Imagine a Roman general named Lucius. He was known for his calmness in battle. One day, one of his soldiers asked him, "Sir, how is it that you never seem upset, even when the enemy outnumbers us?" Lucius smiled and replied, "Because the enemy cannot control me. They can attack, but I decide how to react. If I let myself be filled with fear, I've already lost before the fight begins." In the next battle, when his troops were surrounded, Lucius didn't panic. Instead, he found a weakness in the enemy lines and exploited it. Not only did he win the battle, but he did so with fewer casualties than expected. This is the power of Stoicism. The external world cannot control your mind unless you allow it. The next time someone criticizes you or life hits you hard, ask yourself, am I letting this control my emotions? Can I change the situation, or only my reaction to it? If the answer is the latter, then you are in control. Second lesson. The art of embracing adversity. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, believed that problems were essential for growth. He said, "Gold is tested by fire, the brave by adversity." In other words, difficulties are not curses, but opportunities to strengthen yourself. The lesson of a sailor. There was a sailor named Elias who dreamed of crossing the ocean. On his first voyage, a fierce storm destroyed his sails and forced him to return to land. For months, he lamented his bad luck. One day, a wise old man told him, "You didn't fail. The storm taught you what no teacher could. Now you know how strong your sails need to be and what mistakes to avoid." Elias decided to try again. This time, with a sturdier boat and impeccable preparation. When another storm hit, he was ready. Not only did he survive, but he finally crossed the ocean. Stoicism teaches us that every difficulty is a lesson in disguise. Instead of asking yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this experience? How is this making me stronger?" If you adopt this mindset, no crisis will be able to bring you down. Third lesson. Choose your response, always. Marcus Aurelius, in his book Meditations, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose." This means that, no matter what happens, you always have the freedom to decide how to respond. The test of a young philosopher. Imagine a young man named Adrian. One day, he loses his job. Instead of letting despair consume him, he remembers Marcus Aurelius' words. He sits down, breathes, and analyzes. Keycap 1, can I change the company's decision? No. Keycap 2, can I control my attitude toward this? Yes. Instead of getting depressed, he decides to use this time to learn new skills and start his own project. 6 months later, not only has he found a better job, but he has also developed a business he would never have started if he hadn't been fired. The key is this: when facing a crisis, pause and ask yourself what options you have. Don't react impulsively. Think, and then choose the response that benefits you the most. Conclusion: your mind is your fortress. Life won't be easy. There will be storms, criticism, failures, and moments of doubt. But the Stoics taught us something crucial. Small blue diamond, no one can harm you without your permission. Small blue diamond, every adversity is an opportunity for growth. Small blue diamond, you always have the power to choose your response. Start applying this today. When you face a problem, pause and think, am I letting this control me? How can I use this situation to grow? What is the best response I can give? If you do this, you will become unshakable. The quest for happiness. We all want to be happy. We seek happiness in success, money, and the recognition of others. But what happens when we achieve all that and still feel empty? The Stoics knew something that most people still don't understand. Happiness is not found outside of us, but within. It doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on how we face them. In this episode, we'll explore how the Stoics found inner peace and how you can too. First lesson: happiness doesn't depend on what you have, but on what you are. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, said, "He who has little is not poor, but he who desires more." We live in a society obsessed with accumulation. More money, more possessions, more recognition. But the Stoics discovered that true wealth isn't in what you own, but in what you can lose without affecting your peace. The story of a king and a philosopher. One day, a powerful king heard about a wise philosopher who lived in complete peace and happiness without wealth. Intrigued, he invited him to his palace and asked, "How can you be happy without gold, servants, or luxuries?" The philosopher smiled and replied, "And you? Are you happy with all that you have?" The king, surprised, didn't know how to answer. He was always afraid of losing his power, of being betrayed, or of his wealth not being enough. Then the philosopher added, "Happiness isn't about having more, but needing less." The Stoics practiced voluntary sufficiency, meaning they learned to be happy with the bare minimum. This doesn't mean you should give up your ambitions, but that you shouldn't depend on them to find peace. Ask yourself, how much of what I desire do I truly need? Am I seeking happiness in external things? Can I find joy in what I already have? When you realize that peace comes from within, nothing external can take your happiness away. Second lesson: a calm mind is a strong mind. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." Most people live in a constant war within their minds. They worry about the future, regret the past, and never enjoy the present. The Stoics knew that a restless mind is a weak mind. That's why they practiced controlling their thoughts. The lesson of a Stoic monk. Imagine a monk named Claudius who meditated every day in the same spot. One day, a young man approached him and asked, "Master, how do you stay so calm at all times?" The monk smiled and said, "Come back tomorrow, and I'll give you the answer." The next day, when the young man returned, the monk handed him a cup filled to the brim with water and said, "Walk around the temple without spilling a single drop." The young man tried, but he got distracted by the noise, the people, and the birds. In the end, He spilled the water and failed. The monk told him, "This is your mind. When you're distracted by external things, you lose your balance. But if you focus on what truly matters, nothing can disturb you." The Stoics practiced mindfulness. They didn't let themselves be carried away by negative thoughts or unnecessary worries. They focused on the present. Ask yourself, am I letting my thoughts control my mood? Am I focusing on what I can control or on what I can't? How can I train my mind to be at peace? When you master your mind, the external world loses its power over you. Third lesson, purpose is the key to a fulfilling life. The Stoics believed that happiness wasn't a destination, but a consequence of living with purpose. Epictetus said, "Don't seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events as they happen." In other words, don't fight against life. Find your purpose and live it fully. The story of a craftsman and a warrior. Once, there was a craftsman named Theo and a warrior named Darius. Theo lived in peace, enjoying each day as he carved wood. Darius, on the other hand, was always restless, searching for something to give his life meaning. One day, Darius asked Theo, "How can you be so calm every day doing the same thing?" Theo smiled and replied, "Because every day I pour my soul into my work. It doesn't matter if I'm famous, if people recognize me, or if I become rich. What matters is that I love what I do." Darius realized he had been seeking purpose in external things, when in reality, purpose is found in giving your best in every action, no matter what you do. The Stoics believed that everyone has a role in life and that true happiness comes from fulfilling it with excellence. Ask yourself, am I living according to my values? Am I doing my best in what I do? Am I pursuing a purpose or just distractions? When you find your purpose and follow it with determination, happiness comes naturally. Conclusion. Peace is within you. The Stoics discovered a secret that most people ignore. Small blue diamond happiness doesn't depend on the external, but on how you interpret it. Small blue diamond, a calm mind, is the key to a life without suffering. Small blue diamond purpose isn't found outside, but in every action you take. If you apply these ideas to your life, you'll see something incredible. You'll stop depending on the approval of others, external success, or the uncertainty of the future. You are in control. So start today. Live with less and appreciate more. Master your mind and don't let the external control it. Find your purpose and give meaning to each day. And then, without even realizing it, something amazing will happen. You'll be truly free. Remember, practicing Stoicism is a daily journey toward inner peace and resilience. If this video has inspired you to reflect or helped you see things from a different perspective, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Which idea resonated with you the most? How do you apply Stoic discipline in your life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we will continue exploring the wisdom of the great Stoics and discovering how to apply it to our modern lives. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next video. Keep cultivating strength with every step and share your journey with us.